You know, some things never leave us, no matter what we do, no matter how much time passes. There are always things that stay with us over the years, over the decades. Traumas, bad memories, you know, places, people, situations that didn't pan out, friendships that failed, relationships that ended, jobs that didn't work out. And we carry all that stuff forward, we carry it with us as time goes on. And we think that it doesn't, you know, we think that we like to think that we move on from the past. And I think in terms of the way that we live our life day to day, we do. Over time, that is. But I think subconsciously we don't. You know, the subconscious mind is collecting information. It memorizes things. It stores important information. It stores key moments from the past, good and bad. And as we move on through life from one place to another, from one phase to the next, from one transition to another transition, from one heartbreak to another one, from one friendship to the next, from one job to the next, from one age to another, that stuff's in us, that stuff is there. And while most of it is kind of locked away for the most part, and doesn't tend to surface that often, thankfully, some of it does every now and again. And in my personal experience, it tends to be in my dreams, and it tends to come out in grief of one kind or another, usually when I listen to music for some reason. It's a hard thing to live with, grief. It's a hard thing to live with. Because nobody can tell you really how to deal with it. And there isn't really one way of dealing with grief or trauma or baggage. Sure, you can go to therapy, you can go to the gym, you can go and have one-night stands, you can make new friends, drink your money up the wall, take as many drugs as you want. But I do think there comes a point where you have to, or rather you're forced to, really face head on the things that are going on with you. And in my experience, I found that that often takes years. Sometimes it takes decades for things to get to a point where you have to start confronting parts of your past. You have to start making peace with your past. You have to start saying, you're there and I'm never going to be able to get rid of you. But I'm not going to let you control me. I'm not going to let you destroy my life. I don't know if you're like me, but I have periods where I have not exactly pleasant dreams, let's put it that way. I don't want to say nightmare because it's a bit of an exaggeration, perhaps a bit dramatic, but it's not far off it. And what I mean by that is, I mean trauma that surfaces in dreams. Seeing people from my past and the emotional weight of the things that I'm seeing. And that often means that I wake up early hours in a fit of rage, frustrated, annoyed, angry, sometimes revengeful, sometimes bitter, like I said, resentful. And the thing is, it's weird because I never used to be like that. Sure, I had the odd nightmare every now and again, like most people, but when it comes to excuse me, when it comes to trauma, when it comes to problems from the past, I don't like saying trauma because it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but that is what it is. There's no other way to put it. And those who know, know. There are just some nights where I just wake up and I just think, there are just some nights I wake up and I know that I will never be able to forgive some people. No matter what, no matter how much I would like to, it'll just never happen. It's wishful thinking. And part of the reason for that is they don't deserve the forgiveness. Maybe I deserve it, but they certainly don't. But I just can't give it. They don't deserve it. I'm not going to give them that. I'm talking about people who really fucked up my mental health and those around me. Shall I say more? And not once have they ever apologised, tried to make amends. Not once. And I've just come to that realisation that they never will. Because narcissists never apologise, because they never have any accountability. They never take any responsibility for anything. It's always somebody else's fault. So they're always the victim in everything. And when I fucked up in the past, I have apologised to people. I've tried to make amends countless times with many people, and there was nothing to gain from it. I didn't do it to get anything in return. I just did it because I felt that it was the right thing to do. That's the difference between me and other people in my family. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I have regrets. Things that bother me from time to time that I wish hadn't have happened, but hey ho, that's life. But you know what, I think for the most part, I've always tried to make amends. with people. I've always tried to do what I felt was the mature thing to do, and that was to apologise and to try and, not leave things in a sour way with people. I don't like doing that. That's not really me. Unless it was somebody that did something really, really bad, or just someone that's just I just felt that I just didn't want to waste my time on. I've reached out to friends in the past, exes in the past, old schoolmates in my family. Sometimes they accepted it, sometimes they just kind of brushed it off, sometimes they just kind of thought it was in the past, don't worry about it. But deep down, that they're still pissed off and bitter about certain things. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much you do, you can get down on one knee and on both knees and beg, for forgiveness, or, tell people you forgive them, whatever. But and I think I agree that it is important for you to, as I said, try and make peace with your past and heal yourself. But I just think sometimes you just can't do it. You can say that you forgive people, but do you truly mean it? Do you really, really, truly mean it? Or is it just something that you just feel like you have to do? Just the act of doing it is somehow some kind of therapy, some kind of healing for you? And sometimes in life, there are just situations in which you'll never get clarity on. You'll never know all of the full details. You'll never have all the information. Partly because as time goes on, people forget things, or people conveniently forget things, or people just don't want to open that old box because of how it would make you judge them, look upon them even worse, in a much worse way than you already do. So some people are just cowards, and it's just some people that there's just no hope for them. If someone's a narcissist or a megalomaniac, or someone's just living their life on full ego throttle, then good luck with those people. You see, I think the problem is that you can project part of yourself out into the world and hope that you get something back that's similar to you, and sometimes you don't. You can have a good heart, you can try and be empathic and be compassionate towards people, and try and give people a second chance, or give people, try to have some kind of sympathy or understanding of people and their circumstances and situations. But there are just some people that no matter how hard you try and justify certain things, you just fall short. You just end up in a place where no matter what you do, no matter what you think, you feel, nothing shifts it. Nothing shifts that sense of unfairness, that sense of injustice, betrayal. Trust, respect, loyalty. And sometimes you just have to say, I just can't. I can't bring myself to. You're not going to be a part of my life. I'm not going to allow you to be a part of my life anymore. You don't deserve it. It's one thing if somebody genuinely apologises to you, and you genuinely believe that they're being honest about it, that's one thing. But if somebody shows some degree of guilt or remorse, then fair enough. But sometimes even then, sometimes it's just I just think sometimes it's better off you just to close all forms of contact off with people, whether it's exes, old friends, family members, siblings, parents, whatever it is. And that's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to let go. It's hard to move on, or what we call moving on. Because we never really do move on. We just get used to a new situation. But every now and again, your subconscious mind reminds you of things. It thrusts you back into a place and time when something wasn't very nice, wasn't very happy, wasn't pleasant. It makes you confront it. It makes you look at it and try to understand it. What really happened? Why did it happen? What was my place in all of that? Could I have done something more? Could I have done something better? Did I do enough? And sometimes the answer to that is no. You didn't do enough. But also at the same time, you was younger, less mature, less wise, was more naive, and just in some ways just completely unaware, lacking self-awareness, lacking the ability to understand what was really going on because you was a child or a teenager. And I suppose what really bothers me more than anything else is when people that caused you in some way or other to suffer, to people who made your life a misery in some way and didn't care about it. Didn't care about the impact it had on other people as well. When these people now try to claim that they're somehow some kind of moral figure, some kind of role model now because they've changed or something. I just find it all a bit kind of. I just see through it. I don't think a lot of those people really truly changed. It's just that they don't really change so much. It's just that they just know that they couldn't continue going on down that route because they would have ended up in prison or worse. But deep down, they're more or less the same people. And I know that. And that's why I don't want anything to do with some people now. Once you know for sure that someone's never gonna apologise for things that they did, then as far as I'm concerned, if you don't have any remorse or guilt about the past, and you can't ask for forgiveness or give an apology, a heartfelt apology, then as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to forgive you. I'm not going to. If you want my forgiveness, It's an exchange, isn't it? You want my forgiveness, you should apologise. And you could say, well, isn't it better to empower yourself by forgiving people? Yeah. When people genuinely apologise, when people genuinely mean what when people sit down with you face to face, look you in the eyes and say, I wish that hadn't have happened. I wish things were different. I was a shitty individual back then. I wish I wasn't. Then I can say, okay, fine. I accept your apology. Okay, we can't undo the past. Fair enough. But I do accept your apology and I respect you for being man enough, to be brave enough and mature enough to accept, to take accountability. But when somebody doesn't do that, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think I can justify forgiving you. Because it's essentially giving someone a free pass. You're basically saying it's okay for someone to take no accountability for things that they did that had an impact on you, whether directly or indirectly. And you know deep down that if you were to confront them about the things that happened before, that they would try and dismiss it, that try and deflect and become defensive and become passive aggressive and deliberately try and be evasive and obstructive and try to very quickly move the conversation on to something else because it's too uncomfortable, it's too raw, it's too real. Or some people would just laugh because they've just got no morals. They have no real sense of mature duty. They have no sense of what it really means to be an adult. They have no real sense of what it means to be a decent human being. And if nothing else, even if you can't apologise to me, the fact that certain people don't get the help that they clearly know deep down that they need, tells you everything that you need to know about those people. That they have no guilty conscience to speak of, and they don't care. The truth is, they don't care about what they did to you. They probably haven't thought about it in years or decades, because in their eyes, they don't think that they did do anything wrong. Because you see, as I said earlier, they have this twisted victimhood status, victimhood kind of, not status, this victimhood mentality in which, it's this, they're so delusional, they're so, kind of psychopathic in their way of thinking, that they don't see themselves as oppressors. They don't see themselves as people who cause other people harm. They see these are people who see other people as their prey, their kind of their little things they can fuck around with and treat like crap. And then they think that they somehow have the right to then point the finger and say, you made me like this, you made me do this, you never taking any kind of form of, like I said, accountability or responsibility for anything, because in their heads they think that what they did was okay, because they have no sense of boundaries, they have no sense of respect for other people's comfort and peace, safety, security. Because in their heads, they think that they somehow have some moral justification to act in the ways that they do. And that it's everybody else's fault that they are how they are. And so that's why, these people, you could see them again after 5 years, 10, 20, 30 years, and they're exactly the same, just older. Never gotten any therapy, never changed anything, never tried to make amends, never tried to make up for the past. And so just people like that, as far as I'm concerned, they're just a lost cause. You can't help them. Nothing you say will make them change their minds. Nothing you say will ever get them to face any kind of guilt, because they don't have any. Probably because they don't have any ability to feel anything, any guilt. So, in my opinion, these kind of people are nothing but narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, and egomaniac types that are just, quite frankly, just vile scumbags, just vile, oxygen-thieving bastards, quite frankly. And, they should be fucking wiped off the face of the earth. And the sooner that they are, the fucking better. How many times do these people get away with things? If it's not cruelty to animals, it's child abuse, or it's domestic abuse, or it's abusing drugs and treating people like shit because of it. How many people end up in the firing line of parents and siblings that are fucked up in some way or other, with no fault, and the siblings that are forced into it, no fault of their own, just end up having to kind of navigate all that crap. And expected to then come out and be normal, fucking healthy people. Really? Yeah, there are just some people in this world that I just hate. I really genuinely hate their guts. And I will never, ever, ever, fucking ever forgive them. Why should I forgive them? Why should I? People that bullied me, people that tried to fucking screw me over, tried to use me in some way. And that's not me saying, I'm a victim. No. I'm saying, why do these people deserve my forgiveness? They don't deserve it. They haven't done anything to earn my forgiveness. As far as I'm concerned, if you want forgiveness, you have to earn it. If you want to have a healthy relationship with me, then you need to earn it. Show me some respect. Show me some accountability. Show me that you care. Because if you don't, then as far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. You don't exist in my world anymore. And that will continue. That will continue to be. Believe you me, I can be a very forgiving person. Very caring, very understanding. But for some people, I just can't justify it. I just can't do it. I've tried. Believe you me, I've tried. I really fucking have. Do you know what it's like waking up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, dealing with trauma from fucking 25, 30 years ago. Do you know what that's like? And it's not just once or twice a year now, it's every couple of weeks. Where's this all come from? And is there any wonder why we go looking for things to fill the voids from our past in our friendships, in our relationships? And is there any wonder why so many people, including myself in the past, have gravitated towards toxic people? And why people have gravitated towards me? It's because people's pasts are fucked up, including my own. Very, very messy, complicated, lots of different layers to things. And I don't say this to come across as like sound like a victim. I know maybe it might sound like that, but I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as someone that's trying to empower himself by being honest, by being real, and by not pretending that I'm doing something when I'm not. I wish that everything could be hunky-dory and great and wonderful. I wish I could just write it all off as if it never happened. Trust me. But I can't. And no amount of therapy, no amount of drug abuse, no amount of alcohol, no amount of talking will ever get rid of it. And I've accepted that now. This is my life. I have to manage it. Because that's all therapy really is. It's just a psychologically researched way of a framework in which to analyze and then try to manage the things that are going on with you. I've already been down the therapy route. All they really do in the end is basically say, these are ways to manage it, or you need to go on medication. Now, I don't think that I'm in a place where I personally don't think I need to have medication. But that's just me. I'd rather not. I'd rather live without it. Because I think I can. And I think actually in many ways it's a bit of an easy way out. And not to mention the potential addiction issues related to antidepressants and anxiety medication, etc. Now, whether I do need medication, I don't know, but regardless, anyway, that's besides the point, really. At the end of the day, I know I have to somehow put I think that the key really is to the more you put the pieces together, or at least try to anyway, the more you will feel empowered. The more you can try to understand, or at least get some kind of an insight, whether it's accurate or not, into what happened in the past, as much as you can on your own. That's really the best thing you can do, because then you can kind of put it to one side, compartmentalize it, and then just let it be, let it sit in the drawer, whatever. And and there will just be times where grief hits you randomly. Things will happen, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's listening to your favorite music, whether it's something that you're seeing outside there, put in the public or in the public arena, or something just hits you, something you see on the internet. The grief and trauma are very, very strange things, because I think we deal with them. We internalize a lot of things, and we deal with things in the most. we either deal with things in ways that are easier than others, or we don't deal with things at all. And I think for me, I don't think I ever really truly dealt with a lot of things, including bereavements, including kind of lots of baggage, lots of emotional, psychological baggage. And it shows up years later. You think you think you're doing well, you think you're okay, and then bam, all of a sudden, it's smacking you in the face one night. Or any time of the day, it can come anytime. It can happen at any point. Could happen when you're sober, when you're drunk, when you're high, when you're dreaming. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why we lock all that shit away, or we think we think we have. We think that we're in control of it, and we're not. So during your conscious waking hours, you can choose whether you want to think about things at all. Although even then, there's sometimes things that just come to you randomly that you weren't even thinking about. Something things just pop into your head. Things that remind you of some place or some time or somebody in your past, even if you didn't want it to. So you're not always in control. The subconscious mind does its thing, and you have no say over it. You can decide what to think, what not to think about as best as you can. But even then, sometimes the mind is very difficult. It doesn't always play along. And the thing is as well is sometimes you don't realise what just how much of an impact things have on you. You don't realise just how damaged you've become, just how broken you are as a person, because you didn't really truly realise how bad things were. You didn't really truly realise just how messed up situations were until years later, when you've had time and distance from it, and you're in a headspace, you're in a place in life where you've got time to think about things. And that's why I understand when people go to the gym, when people, become workaholics, why people can become addicted to certain drugs or whatever. It's like, I get it to a certain point. I get it. I get why people get addicted to different forms of entertainment, gambling, being impulsive. I understand, because I've done it myself. And it becomes, it's nothing more than coping. But you don't always know why. You don't always realise why you're doing it. And it's because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect yourself from those really, really difficult emotions, those really difficult things that all we do is just fucking crush them, push them, keep pushing them down further and further and further and further and further. And at some point, something lifts it up, something opens the lid. For whatever reason, whether it's something that happened in the day, at some point, something just triggered some memory or something in the subconscious mind, or the memory, or whatever you want to call it. And it just opens a whole can of worms, It opens up temporarily a lot of really, quite frankly, really fucking unpleasant shit that you don't want to deal with. You don't want to talk about. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to talk to other people about it. And that's why that's all you've done. All you've done in life is just keep pushing it down more and more and more and more and more. And eventually your mind snaps at some stage for some reason. And that's it. You're forced to confront it. That's it. Now you're in a pissed off mood at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, as I was this morning. And how do you deal with that? Apart from sitting there, if you've got a partner, being quiet and just letting it kind of just let it be. Let it be. ride it out, and then eventually, you'll fall back to sleep, and that'll be it. That's all you can really do. But there are certain times when, I wake up and I think, I'm going to tell that person exactly what I fucking think of them. And they're going to get a piece of my mind. I'm going to fucking tell them the truth. But you don't do it. You maintain control. It's very easy to lose control in moments like that. Very, very, very easy. It's so easy to let your emotions take over you. To let your self-control, your rational logic mind to head off into the background and let your emotions take over everything very fucking quickly. Very easy. And the thing is, generally speaking, I'm a pretty calm individual. It may not always seem like that, because I swear and I can kind of get a bit manic sometimes, let's say. But actually, generally speaking, I'm actually a pretty chilled out individual. I don't really like getting angry. I don't really like. You see, again, that's part of the problem. Is I'm someone that doesn't particularly like confrontation, which is why I had problems with being passive aggressive, because sometimes I don't know how to deal with conflict. Not only do I not like it, I don't always know how to handle it. It's hard to handle criticism. It's hard to handle people judging you. It's hard to handle stress and pressure in ways that aren't passive aggressive. And I accept that is maybe not always the healthiest way to deal with life. And I wish I wasn't like that. But it's very hard to change, very, very difficult to change it when it's been part of who you are, or it's become a part of your habitual way of thinking or your mental world for so long. It's easy to get defensive, it's easy to get passive aggressive when you feel threatened by something and then you go into defensive mode. And again, that's not something that I'm happy about. It's not something I'm proud of. I don't want to be like that. But I find it extremely difficult not to be. And when you've come from a family situation in which those were the mechanisms in which you had to rely on essentially to survive, it kind of becomes part of your makeup. And that's the thing that people don't always understand, is like those were the unhealthy coping mechanisms that I had as a child, as a teenager, to deal with the often broken glass situation, context in which I had found myself in. And people don't always get it. They were lucky that they didn't have to deal with that. The awkward quietness, the awkwardness of individuals who hate each other's guts and don't really like each other anymore, who never really wanted to be with each other, and now we're stuck in a situation in which not only did they not love each other, they didn't like each other anymore. They didn't want to be with each other. And, I was someone just like my siblings, so I'm not just saying it was me here. We had to deal with that. We were forced to somehow try to survive in that kind of messy, toxic environment. The problem is we didn't even truly realise that it was those things until we got older, because we didn't know anything different. It's only when we got out and we started having relationships and had our own space that we started to have time to think and put things together and realise, oh yeah, it was actually pretty fucked up, wasn't it? It was pretty fucking dysfunctional and toxic. And that's why we became dysfunctional and toxic. Not because we were our parents, but because of the way in which we felt that we had to somehow get through it. We had to somehow find a way to deal with it. We didn't have anywhere else to go. So we had to survive it. That's just the truth. You know, and sometimes it's not even just about wanting forgiveness, or that would be great. Sometimes it's just about the sheer disappointment in people. That people just let you down, you know, people just truly disappointed you. Failed you in many respects. And yet they have the audacity to sit there and complain and expect that you should somehow have some kind of respect for them. Really? Why? You don't deserve respect. You don't even deserve me contacting you. You don't deserve to talk to me, quite frankly. You're lucky that anybody has any contact with you whatsoever. Because I can guarantee you, under all the surface level, you know, day-to-day bullshit chores and small talk, they don't particularly like you either. But they're in a difficult situation which it's difficult for them to break out of because they've got so used to it. And the longer you're in that kind of environment, the harder it is to get out of it. Because I've been there. I experienced it myself. It's hard to break out of it. As they say, misery loves company. It's so true. Very, very true. Because if you leave a situation that other people as well as yourself know is not healthy for you, that makes that amplifies their own insecurities, that amplifies their own inadequacies, and that shows them up for who they really are. The more people are around those types of people, the more it's easy for them to continue pretending that everything's fine, okay? But it's when that false sense of stability is shook or potentially shook, it threatens them because it means that they will potentially have to start looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, well, why does nobody like me? Why does nobody want to be around me anymore? Why don't I hear from this person anymore? You brought it on yourself. You brought your own misery on yourself. It's self-inflicted. That's why I don't feel sorry for you. In many ways, I don't feel sorry for you. In some ways, I do. But mostly, no, I don't. Because you knew what you were doing. You knew, you know, people who fucking mess with your life and your head, they know what they're doing and they don't care about the consequences of it. Because it's always about them in their world. It's always about what they want, and what they feel, and what they like, and what they need 24 hours a day. What's most convenient to them, what's most comfortable to them in their life. Because in their world, that is all that matters, is them. And nobody else really truly exists, unless they say that they do. You know, it's a strong word to use, hate. But you know, the older I get, the more I realise that, you know what, actually genuinely I do hate some people. And I don't like having to admit that. But there are just some people I just genuinely hate. Now that doesn't mean that I want to see them dead. But I certainly don't want anything to do with them ever again. I never want to hear from them ever again. I never want to see them ever again. I never want to hear about them again. Because to me, that's my control. That's my way of saying, fuck you. I'm in control now. I get to decide who enters my world. who influences my world, who influences my emotions and psychology. I get to fucking decide, not you. And I'm sure some people might say, you sound very bitter. You sound very resentful. Fucking damn right. Damn right. I am bitter. I am resentful. Because I deserve better. And so did my other siblings. We deserve better. And I'm not just talking about my parents here. I'm talking about people that made our life a fucking misery growing up. And those fuckers know exactly who they are. So apologies if I come across as being a bit dramatic or aggressive, but I can assure you it's justified. If nothing else, some of these people should have ended up sitting in jail for decades. That's all I can say. I don't wish them any harm, but they should have faced the consequences of their actions. They shouldn't have been allowed to get away with what they did. And in some ways, some people continue to get away with things that they're still doing. I'm angry because there's a lack of justice in this world. I'm angry because there's a lack of empathy in this world. I'm angry because people don't seem to care. Not just about me, but just in general. The world over. That really pisses me off sometimes. I've got every right to be bitter. I've got every right to be resentful if I want to be. It's nobody else's fucking business. I'm sure you're fucking bitter about something, resentful about something. So why can't I be? Why shouldn't I be? Why can't I be allowed to be? And you might say, well, yeah, but some people have gone through worse than you have. Yeah, true. I agree. That is true. But in the same token, a lot of people have had much better lives as well. So if we're going to do that comparison bullshit, let's have it both sides, from both sides. And some people they're just so judgmental and critical of you, no matter what you do, no matter what you say. So, at the end of the day, I don't really give a fuck, quite frankly. It's like, if you don't fucking like the way I am, then fuck off elsewhere. You don't fucking like me, then fucking do one. I don't give a fuck about you. Sometimes you just need to rant, man. You just need to get it out. You just need to get some shit off your chest. Sometimes you need to swear. Sometimes you need to let some emotions out every now and again. Because that's called being a fucking human being. I'm not a fucking blob of fucking metal, am I? I'm not a machine. I'm not a robot. I'm not a motor. I'm not a piece of mechanical engineering. Am I? I'm just a human being with a messy, difficult, complicated life in many, many ways. Just like everybody else out there. And when you've had to deal with trauma, it makes life more difficult sometimes. It makes it more difficult to be functional, to be healthy, to be normal. Because people don't see it. They don't realise, they don't know what you've been through. They don't know what you're going through, what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. They don't know what it's like to be you. And I don't mean that in some self-pity way. I just mean that in just being honest about it, you know? I don't know what it's like to be anybody else but myself. I haven't lived other people's lives, and other people haven't lived mine. And I just wish people just would respect that. If you want to know something about me, don't sit there and just make fucking assumptions and judgments about me before you've gotten to know me, before you've actually sat down with me and talked to me. And even if you have, don't think that you've got me clued up after fucking an hour or so, because you don't know me. You haven't been through what I've been through. You haven't gone down the journey that I've gone down. Just as I haven't gone down yours. I don't really understand who you are. I don't understand your specific nuanced life and psychological and emotional makeup. And the way that you are, why you are who you are. Just as you don't know why I'm the way I am. For the most part, you don't really truly know. Even if we'd gone through the exact same paths in life, we would probably come out very different. And my siblings prove that. We're not all the same, we're very different people. We all have certain things in common, as I kind of point out to during this video. Trauma, baggage, scars. The only difference is that I'm willing to open up about it and talk about it. And I do it partly for my own benefit, but also because I know other people are going through it as well. I know other people have been through similar things to me, or maybe even worse. So I don't sit here feeling sorry for myself. I find myself lucky that I got out of it, that I got away from it, and it was what it was, and it could have been a lot worse. But at the same time, it was fucking bad. And those people involved in it, responsible for it, should hang their fucking heads in shame. And know for sure that I will make the decision whether I want anything to do with you or not. You don't dictate my life anymore. You don't make any decisions over my life anymore. I make the fucking rules now, not you. And if you don't like that, tough. You have to put your foot down with certain people in life at a certain stage. Even with people the closest to you sometimes, siblings, family, you know, your partner, your friends. Because if you don't do that, they'll walk all over you. And they'll continue to walk all over you until you start setting boundaries. And that's why that's the phase of life that I'm at now, is the setting boundaries stage, of saying, you're not healthy for me. I don't think I should have anything to do with you, or have very little to do with you. And I'm setting the boundary. I'm saying, you need to stay away from me. Because you're no good for me. I don't wish you any harm, but I don't want anything to do with you, quite frankly. And you know exactly why that is. You can fill your head with all sorts of delusional bullshit all day long if you want. You can lie to yourself and other people all day long if you want to, but I know the truth. And deep down, so do you. It's my life. I'll make the decisions, thank you very much.